Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm your host, Jana, and today it's so amazing because I have a wonderful person on my podcast today, Brian. And me and Brian, we actually met in a very unique way. We met over Instagram, and immediately when I saw your post and was kind of immediately drawn into your energy, I felt like, wow. And I feel like we both really connected on several topics. But Brian, thank you so much for being my guest. I know you're so extremely busy. I'm so honored that you took the time and that you're here with me being my guest. And welcome and hello.
Thank you. Thanks so much for for having me on. It's really kind of crazy how it all happened because I happened to be searching hospitality that day on Instagram just to kind of see that world and which is why social media is so fun. You can learn about any area and your Instagram was one of the first ones to pop up. So I was like, "Oh, I'll just follow her and I'll just see what she has and I'll probably learn some stuff and incorporate it into my life and what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden we started talking and here we are. So it's been a fun little start to our relationship.
Yes, I could not agree more because it was so cool because we scheduled a just a semi 30-minute casual coffee virtual Zoom and it turned into literally 4 hours, I want to say. I think, right? It was almost 4 hours.
Yeah, it
And
was
it was
yeah.
and it was amazing because the energy that we shared was just so mutual, which really actually leads me today to our topic because I wanted you to come on here and really share what I personally feel like most connected about when we lost people that we truly, really loved so much from our heart. I know in your life it was your beloved partner, and in my life it was my parents. And so I feel like we really connected on that so deeply. But if you don't mind, Brian, like I know a little bit about your personal story, but I would love to go back to your beginning of how did you and your beloved partner, how did you guys met and share a little bit how your little story before all of this social media success that we will later absolutely get into had started. Who was Brian before all of this social media explosion?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm old enough that I had MySpace, so there's that.
Yeah.
I grew up in Massachusetts and I knew I wanted to work with animals, so I got a degree in marine biology, and I started working in aquariums and zoos right away. And just I fell in love with it. So that was really a huge part of my identity for a long time. And it's a labor of love. It's not something that pays a ton, and it's also really competitive. So I had to leave home and move to the other side of the country, and it just really, didn't have a lot of roots anywhere because I had to just go where the work was, and it was fun. I had a great time. I've worked with Sea Lion. That my nickname is Sea Lion Bryan on social media. So if anybody has seen that, that's why sea lions are my favorite animal. And so I had this really fantastic at least career. And then I had relationships, some of them that lasted a while and some that did not. And it just things were, off when you're younger and you're trying to figure all that out. I'm sure people understand. And I ended up taking a job in Atlanta at the aquarium there. I had followed somebody that I was in a relationship with that did not go well. But there I was, and I had to kind of stick it out for a bit. I was closer to my family who was up in Massachusetts and just trying to really figure out life on my own again in a new city, no friends. The breakup happened. And so I took a little bit of time to just kind of focus on work and myself and really I poured a lot into myself and started taking care of myself better. So I think some of where I am right now was through those lessons because when stuff really hit the fan, I leaned
Right.
back into a lot of what I learned over the years. So I had been there for a few years and then went out to a bar with some friends and met a mutual friend. His name was Clayton, and we got along really, really well. And I was like, well, this guy would be great. We could go on a date. And I asked him, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm actually in a relationship. And I was like, okay, no worries. I just got out of one. I probably need a little bit more time. It's cool. I made some friends, like not a big deal. And then that was it. And a couple years later, I ended up going out on a date with this interior designer. And we got along, but we realized on the date, we're like, oh, we'll just be friends. And he went back to the office and he had told us, hey, we went out on this date. Nice guy. We're probably just going to be friends. Not a big deal. But he lived in a really cool place. So I was like, well, hey, I'm looking for my own condo. Would it be weird? Because I really like the area and all that. Like, I really like this. And he's like, yeah, whatever. That's cool. And so I got myself, it was my, my own like condo. It was like built in an old cotton mill in Atlanta. There's a pool. It was very charming, a lot like brick, really cool, artsy neighborhood. So I felt like I could just be myself there. And he had invited me to a big pool party with all the neighbors there. And he's like, you could meet everybody. And so I was walking into the pool party and I hear, hey, Brian. And I was like, wait, what? And it was Clayton. He was there at the pool party. I didn't know. He worked for the interior designer. So he knew we went on a date and it didn't go, and we were just friends. And he was single and he knew I moved in there and he was going to be at the party. So we ended up hanging out, which was actually 4th of July. So interestingly enough, we're having this conversation almost on, the anniversary of that. And so he and I got like, we just started hanging out because he had his place there in a different building. Um, we just again like right picked up right where we had met off, got along really well, except I had taken my time and was like, okay, I'm past everything and I'm ready to get into something else. And he also had been single for a while, so we started to date. And then both of us lived together for a little while and really did not want to stay in Atlanta. So where I wanted to be at the beach. And there's very few aquariums available. He wanted to move to the beach. His mom had moved more from up north down to lower Florida. And we all were like, well, we should probably all live in the same spot. And a position opened up at the Gulfarium Marine Adventure Park, which is in Fort Walton Beach. They needed somebody in management with a lot of sea lion experience. I was like, do we do this? And he's like, yeah, let's go. So we moved because of my job, got here. And then we were here for about a year. And my dad got real sick. He had 13 back surgeries since he was 20. And he was in that group of people who were on a lot of opioids before we knew the problem. And his doctor kept giving him more and more. So it was really taking a toll on him to a point. It was just a really bad addiction, and he was just making very poor choices on medication. He wasn't eating, and eventually, that actually on June 29th of 2017, he passed away. And I was 38. I was 38. Yeah, I was 38 years old and my dad was gone. And that was really, really strange. I had dropped everything and flew home. Um, and then a couple of days later, Clayton came up, and we had the funeral and everything else. It was just very surreal because I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be here until I was like 70, Dad. Like what's going on? Felt really weird, but I was like, at least I have my family, my friends, and him. I have Clayton. And he had actually been digging in his mom's yard. This is where the story gets weird. He had been digging in his mom's yard. She had bought a house near us, and he was redoing all of her landscaping. He was interior, exterior designer, loved all that stuff, so he was having a blast. And one day he was digging and found plastic, and he thought that it was just that plastic that you put down to keep weeds from growing. So he reached down to pull it out, and his hand went into it and pulled it out, and it was just covered in this slime stuff. Well, you started digging, thinking like, what was this under here? And pulled out, it was a bag, and it was the last owner's pet. Huh. And he was like, "This is so gross." And of course, when you touch something, like the first thing you want to do is get your hand. So he wiped it on his leg and then he went to go take a shower. And a few days later, he started getting redness on his leg. And what we
Mm.
found out was he ended up getting basically some ringworm, which you can get, from playing in Florida stuff. The military people get it a lot. It's not uncommon. And like athletes get it. It's just not something you really worry about. So he was putting some topical stuff on, and we were up, in Massachusetts for everything with my dad. And we got home, and he's like, "This just isn't getting better." And it started to spread. The topical stuff wasn't working. So I went to work. He went to the emergency clinic or whatever to just get checked, and they decided they were going to put him on antifungals. I got home and he told me, I was like, okay, I didn't think too much of it. And then it spread. And I was like, you're on oral medication. This is weird. What's happening? So he went back. And again, like I wasn't around. I was at work and they upped the dose. So I was like, okay, sure. They're upping the dose. It just might be a really strong strain. Like, got it, whatever. Um, and then it started to show up all over his body. And I was like, this is something totally different. And he went back and I went with him. And they're like, this is gone. It's in your system. It's systemic and it's popping up everywhere. We've really got to get rid of this. They upped him again. And I said, wait, aren't you checking his blood work? And they're like, what? I'm like, you're giving him antifungals and that's like a liver issue. Like you've got to watch that. Have you? And they didn't have to talk to me. We weren't married. So I was like, all right, this is weird. And he started to just not feel well. And I was like, well, maybe it's the medicine. Maybe like it's just your immune system and you're tired. And we started noticing like he was losing weight, except his stomach was getting bigger. It was really, really strange. He's like, stomach ache. I think I ate something weird. Thought I had to go to the bathroom. It's not. I don't get it. My stomach feels so bloated. And I was like, all right, well, let's keep an eye on it. I think you should go back to the doctor. I don't think you should be on those meds, or there needs to be something else. They need to check your liver. And he's like, no, the doctor said it's fine. And I was like, okay. So I ended up going a month or so later. I had a trip for work. So I went down to Mexico for an animal training conference I was presenting at. And again, we were texting and he's saying he was okay. And a hurricane was leaving, going past where I was and going up to the panhandle. So when I left, I flew around the hurricane, landed, got home, and he's like, I'm not feeling well. He picked me up at the airport, and I was like, why don't we just take you to the hospital? He's like, we have a hurricane coming. My mom, she's worried. I'll go tomorrow. So hurricane hit. I had to go into work because I was like a manager, so I had to make sure the animals were okay and dealing with that. And throughout the day, I didn't hear from him. And I was like, wait, what's happening? And I ended up getting home and he was on the couch and he was yellow, just whole body yellow, could barely get up. We were on the third floor. He's 6'5". And here I am trying to help him down 3 flights of stairs because there's no elevator. Threw him in the car, picked up his mom, and went to the emergency room. And that's when he was in the emergency room. The doctor pulled me aside. He goes, "I'm really sorry to tell you, but your friend has liver failure. Like it's not gonna come back. You have about 8 months." And I was shocked. And I was like, well, that's not my friend. Like we're together. We're planning on, maybe getting married, like all the things. What are you talking? And he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry about your friend. And I was like, wait, what? And he walked away because he didn't have to talk to me anymore. We didn't get married. So we brought him home. And then probably for the next, well, that was September. For the next few months, he'd have flare-ups. We'd have to take him to we found out he was losing weight, but his liver was just pouring poison into his stomach, which was why it was so distended. And he'd have to go weekly to have it drained. And it was like liters. It was awful. And so I had to work full time and didn't take care of myself. Still didn't have time to process that my dad was gone, and I was counting down the days till I was gonna lose him. Um,
Mm.
and I don't know, I probably you just go into autopilot, and I didn't let
Yeah.
any. nothing happened. Like nothing was, I wasn't getting emotional about it because I just had to do it. I just had to shut
Right.
everything up, and I went to work, and then I took
Right.
care of it. And I got like 4 hours of sleep at night, drank so many energy drinks to just get through the day, ate junk food because it was just fast. And he was 1 month shy of the 9 month prediction, and he had passed away on April 16th of 2018. So less than 10 months after my dad had passed, and I was only 39. So that is what all of a sudden just kicked me into this weird world that I didn't understand because we weren't married. So I was like, well, what does this mean for who am I now? And a friend of mine reached out. She was at Soaring Spirits. She had lost my friend had passed away in a scuba diving accident. And my friend Jenny, his fiance, had left the animal field. That's how we knew each other. And she started working at Soaring Spirits International, which is widowed support. She reached out to me and she's like, here's a group for you. And I was like, but Jenny, I'm not widowed. And she's like, no, yes, you are. I was like, we weren't married. She goes, that's not what that means. That's a society thing, and it negates people's relationship because there's lots of people that don't, they're together and they don't want to get married or they don't have a religion, they
Right.
that's their thing. Common law marriage, like it just is what it is. It's like you guys didn't get enough time. It doesn't invalidate who you are. And I was like, now I had
Or
a
what you
stop.
had.
I had
Yeah.
yeah,
Or what you had as a relationship.
right. So I felt validated, but then I had a term for it. And I was like, okay, this is what this is. Well, how do I deal with this? And so I had been updating everyone on Facebook about how sick he was, and people were not listening. They're like, he's fine. I'll come and visit him. He'll have a transplant. I'll be there this summer. I'm like, there isn't a this summer. I don't even know if there's a this spring. And he didn't want me to share pictures. And at some point I finally snapped and I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm taking a photo of you and I am posting it because your friends do not understand how sick you are. And he agreed and he's like, you're the only one dealing with this right now. It's okay. I get it. And so I posted a picture and Facebook exploded. Like all of our friends were like, call it, how can I get there? When can I get there? What can I do? And I was like, there's only so much and I still have to work. So we had like two, three people came to see him. That was it. My mom came down. Thank God for her. And she stayed with me twice. She was there, and then my friend Katie came down, and they were both there when we knew things were getting close. Took him out to his last like dinner out of the house, and we saw it coming. And then April 15th, I went to go visit him. He was at his mom's now because she was on the first floor. It was very easy for hospice to come in. And I went over there to see him after, with after work. And I could tell. And I just looked at him and I was like, I understand, but not today. Because that was my sister's birthday. And I was like, I do not want this. This is Stephanie's day.
Right.
Just wait for tomorrow, please. I get it. And he did. And that morning at 3, 4 in the morning, I woke up and the cat was on my chest, in my face, and he never did that. My dog was here, never. My dog was always at the foot of the bed. I just woke up. And then an hour or so later, his mom had woken up and called me, and she was like, "That's it, he's gone." Um,
Mhm.
so I had I didn't know I had no real I had my coworkers, but I was still new here. I didn't have a lot of friends. His mom had a stroke shortly after that and was hospitalized and never went home, so I didn't have her around anymore either. And I was just trying to figure things out. So I started writing stuff on Facebook, and Jenny reached out and she's like, I know this is hard, but Soaring Spirits has blog writers. We don't have anyone for the LGBTQ community. And Michelle, who created Soaring Spirits, has seen your Facebook posts and you write beautifully. Would you be a blogger for us? I thought about it. I got on the phone with Michelle and then I said, all right, I'm going to go for it. I'll do it. I don't know how this is going to go. I may have to stop. And she's like, you do whatever you want, but you could help a lot of people. So every week for almost 5 years after that, I started writing my blog and sharing it and social media. And social media wasn't a big thing. I had Facebook friends. I didn't even really have an Instagram. All of that stuff was happening. I was also dealing with not making enough to live on my own as in my almost 40 years old. So I had to get a second job at the same time. So I was juggling like how to manage a lot of people, a lot of animals at work, how to get a second job, like and
Yeah.
try to like figure out like why I
Yeah.
felt like a failure in so
Yeah.
many ways, and losing two people.
At
Um,
the same time.
the
Yeah.
same time. My doctor almost sent me to the hospital because he thought I was going to have a heart attack. He wanted to put
Yeah.
me on meds, and I was afraid of medication. And so I just kept telling everybody where I was every week. And that helped me get stuff out, but I didn't realize how much other people were like, I've been through this, or I'm going through a divorce, and this makes sense. Like the person I fell in love with is not there. They've changed, and that person I
Yeah.
was in love with died, or their
Yeah.
child had passed away. I was
Yeah.
getting a lot from friends and family. So I was like, okay, well, this is at least it's helping them.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's also because what you just shared, and first of all, my absolute condolences because I was really choking up too, and I saw you got so emotional, and when you got so emotional, it hit me really hard because I could feel the same pain, obviously for a different person, not in a romantic way, but like that pain is no different at all. I feel like that pain of grief doesn't matter if it's a spouse or a parent or a child or, like you said, a partner that is still alive, which really, as I experienced in my life, that was really hard for me to grieve over a person that is actually still in the flesh here with me in life, but I'm not able to make it work, you
mhm,
know? And but I think that grief part, I choked up when you said that. It's so much to juggle. It's so much to juggle because we haven't even passed yet one situation that just happened with dad in your case, and then we're moving on to this part, and now we're also moving on to his mom that obviously mentally and emotionally was a huge safety net for the both of you. And so, now we're still putting in, we need to go to work full time because we got to support ourselves. Now we're also putting in, I'm drinking a lot of energy drinks in your case. I'm not eating healthy. I'm not taking care of my only temple, that I need to take care of. I don't know how to prioritize myself. I don't know how to put myself at first because all of this is happening and I just need to get through the day, right? And I
mhm.
think when you said that you started to write the blog and when you wrote, and not only did it help you to actually get that, because I almost feel like what you did is you created, you turned your poison into your own medicine. And I think I said that at one point to you in our private conversations, because I feel like what the blog seemed like was kind of like the open gateway to something where it's like, not only do I help myself unintentionally, unknowingly, by writing and letting it all out, but also I'm helping so many people in different scenarios of grief to really resonate with that. And it kind of, it's kind of like a collective thing. It almost seems like it became like a collective thing after you wrote the blog, right?
Yeah, it's that definitely brought some people together. And then like, I moved on. I kept going, well, not moved on. I was growing through grief, and I kept going
Um,
forward and trying to figure out what life was. And I thought I was, and year one was foggy. Year two, I was I was like traveling. I was able to go places. My second job had me like going here and there, and work sent me down to Brazil, and I was like, wow, okay, like I get to go places. And then boom, it was 2020. And instead of me all this freedom and being able to go places and try to process and get back into
right,
life, the pandemic hit, and I was
right,
stuck all by myself at home. I had to go to work, couldn't enjoy it with the animals because we had to throw food and go because we had to watch there were no people there coming in to pay. So we had to really watch finances. So I didn't have that. I didn't have the social structure even at work.
right.
Everything was all online. And I had a friend who's like, "Hey, you should just jump on TikTok and watch these goofy people you love dancing. Like, maybe this is something for you. I'm just really worried you're by yourself. And so I jumped on there and I was like, all right, well, I guess everyone's having a good time. I like to dance. What if I just did one just I gotta shake this up. Like I'm just sitting here eating Chinese food and crap all day, drinking wine, and then I don't have to function that much because I just go to work, throw food at animals, and come home. Like, what is this even? Let me give myself something. So I posted one video of my dog at first, and that didn't get much. And I was like, well, I'll do something with me dancing. And I picked one song. I would have to go back and look. I can't even remember. I think it was the Savage Dance because there was something I had to, it was like it was something I had to learn. So it
Yeah,
forced me to sit there and learn what was going on. Even though it didn't take long, it gave me something to do. It was a
yeah,
challenge. I'm like, I can figure this out. I've got hours. I'm sitting at home alone. Like, instead of watching TV and just being a slug, I'm gonna try this. I did it, I posted it, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what people think. If it's terrible, I'll delete it. I don't care. I just, it was fun, cool. Now I gotta put my phone down and go to bed. I'm tired. I woke up, it had thousands of views. I had like 10,000 followers. I was like, what just happened? And all these people who are like, this is so cool, this is awesome. And so right then and there, I felt excited. And I was like, I took a pause. I like put the grief on pause. And then I was like, I'm gonna have a little fun and I'll get back to this in a minute, but I need a break. But no one else is giving me the break. Anyone I talk to can't give me the break.
right.
I have to give me the break.
Yeah,
And that's when I realized like my fire was out, but no one else could light it. So I was like, I gotta spark this again. I'm the only one that can do it. And that, like finding the one thing that I could do for just a few minutes every day, relit it. And then having all these people tell me, this is cool, this is fun, it's so great. Oh my gosh, was fuel. It was just
yeah,
people throwing wood on my fire, and I just started
yeah,
feeling better and better and better. And I'm like, well, I could do another dance. Well, I'm home early today. I could do two dances. It started to become this fun thing, and I kept going. And within months, I had 100,000 followers over there. And I was like, this is crazy. And they started to jump over to Instagram and follow me. This was long before Facebook and Instagram started doing reels and competing. So
right,
sharing, and then those people were jumping over and following me, but then they
right.
were seeing my widowed blog. So the
Yeah,
people on TikTok saw me as Happy Dancing Brian and came over and they're like, wait a minute, you're balancing all this out?
right.
How are you sad and happy? And I was like, you're allowed to feel joy and grief at the same time. And
Yeah,
then everything exploded. As soon as
yeah,
that happened, and Facebook and Instagram were like, we're gonna do reels. I started doing my dance reels, but all those people had seen my grief. So now they
right.
were seeing me and they're like, this is magic. You're teaching me that it's okay. I can be sad, but I can be happy in those moments and days and weeks, and it's okay. It's a balance. And I'm like, this is the path. You you can't just stay here. And
Right.
that's Facebook went up to 1.2 million, Instagram's at like gosh, what? I don't 360 something. I don't even know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought it's so interesting when you touched base on, how really it was fuel when people did encourage through their positive comments, which is really so interesting to me because, at the end of the day, it is such an interesting and ironic combination because as you just said too, the fire that was unlit in you was really responsible by you to be lit again. Yet it needed the outside fire a little bit to help kind of like a match. I feel like the outside world was the match, but you were the matchbox, so they kind of provided you the match so it can be really lit again. And then you, since you are the matchbox, you took it from there and you just kept going. But I think it's so interesting when we look at us as collectively, how really encouragement really pushes people to an actually extraordinary level when just one person is just saying something kind. And it does not have to be involved with, I buy you a dinner to make you feel better, I'll buy you a car. It only is really those simple, kind words like, hey, I really like your shirt. hey, thank you for this dance. I laughed so hard and it made me feel better, you
Mhm.
know? And so in Germany, we have a saying and we say, laughing is the best medicine, you
Yeah.
know? And so, yeah, and I thought it was so interesting when you described of like, and you did it so beautifully also. You verbally described exactly when people say, "Oh wow, I'm not allowed to be happy when I'm grieving," because I've been there too. Not so much with my dad because he passed 6 years prior to my mom, but like with my mom, I did catch myself in situations where I mentally told myself, "I'm a bad person if I'm having fun when my mom just died." You know what I mean? And this wasn't intentionally, it just was there. And
Yeah.
when I started to find my own balance, as you described yours, you know, I figured out the very same thing of like, you know what? I fundamentally have to make a choice. It's either I'm choosing to be depressed or sit here in grief and be sad, which I did. But also, I'm now choosing to actually make the best of my life, what I have, because either way, she won't come back. In
Yep.
either scenario, the reality of her not coming back into my life, me never talking to her again, me never doing anything with her again, will always be the same. And so, and then I also flipped to what would she really tell me? And then I started to kind of like have conversations with her telepathically, you know, and I would hear her just, it's okay, just keep going, don't look back, just keep forward, like you're fine. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly what I want you to do. And it's so interesting that when we start these projects, which really with you is so cool because when I look at your videos and I know you a little bit in person because we share, you know, we're building a friendship with each other. But like when I look at your videos, I never once felt ever that this was rehearsed or this was doing this for the likes and clicks. This is just a human being that literally has fun doing dance moves, you know.
Mhm.
And I always love your different outfits, like you're always in shorts and a cute shirt, and the shirt most of the time says some cool quote or something, you know. And so and that's really what I think drives so many people to authentic, you know, bloggers or authentic people. How do you call those people that actually change certain things when they say this is good or this is not good? Influencers, you know,
Influencers, yeah.
that really, that's really what draws the collective to those influences, is really the authenticity of the influencer itself, by
Yeah.
saying like, yeah, I'm going through grief right now and it's really hard, and made of fact I can't even support myself, I had to actually get a second job, but here I am doing this for fun because it simply just makes me feel good. And I'm allowing myself to actually do to me what makes me feel good. And I
Mhm.
think, wouldn't you say that that's fair to say that that's kind of like also when your love for like a young living and the oils and all of that had started, where you started to really actually fundamentally take care of your own temple, like for real, take
Yeah.
care of it and really hone into what is it that I'm actually consuming into my temple, rather that is putting it on my skin, or you know, in my hair, in my body, drinking, eating, diffusers at home, wherever. Like, wouldn't you say that that's kind of like where I know I love that one so much. It's so beautiful. It's just glass, right? Like it's a glass diffuser, right? With the wood
Glass on the
bowl.
top and wood. Yeah. It's like it's
My
everywhere.
favorite. Yeah.
It was interesting. I Things happen and fall into your life when they're supposed to. So like whoever ends up listening to this podcast, it was the right time for whatever they get out of it. Um
Right.
and yeah, like there is this big balance, and you what you had said was there's actually a name for it when you lose somebody and then you are like, I feel guilty being happy. That's called
Mhm.
survivor's guilt. And people go through that where they're like, well, they're not here anymore. If I'm
Why
happy,
should I have fun?
yeah,
Right.
if I'm happy, that means I'm disrespecting them. And that's not it at all. You have a
Right.
right to grieve and you should take the time. And that's going to look different. Like there's days where stuff pops up and I'm like, ooh, that hit. Wasn't expecting that. But I don't dwell on it like I used to.
Yeah.
But dwelling on it at the start's normal. And I think that was a big part of it too, was to show people that it's not linear. There's no map to grief. There's no do
Right.
this. Like that's just not a thing, but it changes. But you have to keep going. And so I think that was a huge thing that I told myself. And
Right.
the biggest thing, because my dad had passed, Clayton had passed, and I didn't take care of myself, I was having like my heart was hurting, like I was having chest pains. My asthma was really bad, and I'm like, I gotta go to the doctor. So I just went, I booked an appointment. I'm like, I've had a lot of stress. I'm feeling off. I need to talk to him. So I got in there, the nurse took my blood pressure, and she's like, I'll be right back. And I was like, oh, that's weird. The doctor came in and he's like, what's going on? Your blood pressure's through the roof. So I told him what had happened, and he was like, I need you 10 minutes, and we're going to take your blood pressure again. I just need you to calm down. Because if you don't, I'm sending you to the emergency room because your blood pressure is so high, you're going to have a cardiac event. And in my head, the next thing I thought of was my mom can't handle this. Nope, wasn't even me. It was like, I'm not doing this
Can't
to
do
my
this for her. Right.
Ah, there you go. You got me. Um, so I was just like, what is going on? This is too
Right.
much. I need to calm down. And so I was like, get a hold of yourself. You're right now, the biggest thing is you. Like if you get sick and hurt, it's not bringing anyone back. Just like you said, it doesn't like what I'm doing is not, I can't shame myself for not taking care of myself because I was
Right.
in a crappy position, but now I'm free of all of that. Not to say that
Right.
it's a good freedom, but it's
No. Yeah.
when you're living that life as someone who is a caregiver and they're gone, you don't know how to operate outside of that. So I was still drinking energy drinks. I was eating like crap. I was still trying to process what was happening, let alone care about myself at all.
Right.
And I got myself calm and he came back in. He's like, "All right, I'm not sending you to the hospital, but we need to have a conversation. I'm putting you on blood pressure medicine." And I was so scared. I was like, "I don't want to be on medicine." And he's like, "That's you're gonna die." And then he's like, your asthma is awful. You've gained weight, which I get. He didn't shame me for it, but he's like, you got to lose weight. You got to get off that caffeine. I'm going to put you on antidepressants. And I was like, I will not take those. I'm not going to numb myself. That was my decision. I'm not saying that's
Right.
what anyone else should do, but I
Yeah.
made it for me because I knew that I was not going to function correctly. I was just going to be like, okay. And I didn't want to float through life like that. I couldn't be on meds that just made me kind of numb because I'm around animals and people.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for safety. And so I was like, I'm not doing that. And he's like, just take the blood pressure medicine and take the morning steroid for your asthma. And I was like, oh, here we go. Um, so I got home, and my sister, I got on the phone with her because I was scared and I didn't want to call my mom, who's probably going to see this. She knows all, my mom knows all this. But anyway, I called her and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, you got to get off the caffeine. I'm going to send you something. Really had no idea what it was. And two bottles of this two beautiful bottles, filled with red liquid, show up in my house. And I was like, oh, this is from my sister. It's wine. She's just the sweetest. No, it was not. It was not at all. She had started up, my nephews had a hard time with free and clear laundry detergent. Sounds so weird, but laundry detergent literally probably saved my life. Um, and I mean, it was so bad. And our cousin was like, Stephanie, my sister, why don't you try this? It's all natural. And like she redid all their laundry, and within weeks there was no issues. And she's like, what am I putting on my kids? So she started all of this natural stuff. And then she started sharing classes and education, but Clayton was passing away. And I was like, I love you, but I don't have time. And then finally, when he ended up passing away, she's like, look, I'm not gonna push you, but I just want you to try this. And so I was like, fine, what do I do? 2 ounces a day. Okay. I was just, here we go. I'll do it, but I'm still gonna drink my caffeine. I was just being, I'm gonna still do this, whatever
Right.
mindset. On day 5, I made it through most of the day without even thinking about caffeine. And I was like,
Oh,
how did I get to like, I think it was like 1, 2 o'clock? I'm like, what? And then I was like, what's in this? And I'm a biologist, so I was like, okay, let's stop and take a look. And I realized what was in it, and I went down this whole rabbit hole of science of essential oils that just gets pushed down and hidden because everyone's like, well, doctors are like, nope. The pharmacy people are like, nope. But that's where all of our medicine started from, was plants. So I was like, this
Right.
makes sense. So let me try a diffuser and oils because all I really want to do right now is sleep. I just want rest, no caffeine, shut it all down. Um, so I was like, I'll get started. Felt better, started sleeping better, and then all of a sudden I realized I needed a second job. And I was like, I'm gonna lose everything. Like he's gone. I'm gonna have to take the pictures he hung up off the wall. Like I just need to stay here for a little while. And my sister's like, I love this. Why don't you and I share this together? And that's when I started sharing and teaching people about natural stuff. And that's the second job that popped up in my life. And within a couple of months, which is different for everybody, within 4 months, I was making not only what I needed, but a little buffer so I could breathe. I was like, all right, cool. And then it just started growing and growing and growing. And now it's become my full-time job. And it's really interesting because I now not only dancing and stuff on social media and that, but my journey and people watching me lose weight, feel better, take care of myself, do things that bring me joy, still honor my grief and share and talk about where I'm at and how normal that is. I'm
Right.
married like now. So like that's like people are like, "Wait, how did this all happen?" And I was like, "I just said yes. I said yes to things as they came in my life because I knew that I needed change. It was going to happen whether or not I wanted it to. So why don't I embrace the things that are showing up for me? Like this is showing up,
Mm.
that's showing up. Okay. And then everything exploded in the best of ways. I, met my husband now. He Facebook suggested we be friends. He was going through a divorce, so he was reading my grief blog and we had never talked because he was like, this
Wow.
makes sense to me and my loss. And
Totally.
and then, obviously he moved here, we got married, and now, happily ever after. I don't work at the aquarium anymore. I love the animals, but this was a much bigger calling, and I can work from home, it pays the bills, and
Yeah.
I can hang out with people like you on podcasts all day.
Yeah, it's wonderful because, I remember when we had our conversation about all of those, and I really would love to jump back in quickly into the product of itself because the way I really was starting to get hooked on it is because of the ingredients, because there's nothing, there's no chemicals in there. It's all pure. It's all, semi plant-based and really healthy. And so that's really what got me hooked on the product itself because I'm really all for when you touch base earlier that everything started from plants back in the days, all the medicine, all the old remedies, all the old house remedies that we used to, either get from our grandmas or great grandmas, you know what I mean? And so at one point it all turned into all chemical thing. And really what got me so interested and so excited about Young Living in general is the fact that none of that is existent in those products. And it doesn't matter what product you're picking, there's no chemicals whatsoever, which for me is really important because, again, when I went through my most healing journey, 4 years ago, almost five now, I really made a conscious decision of I do not need to put anything in anymore into my temple that really does not serve me. And I used to smoke cigarettes a whole lot, you know what I mean? Because that's what got me through. Now, I was never really into drugs or alcohol. I mean, do I like to get tipsy? Yes. But it's not my, it was never in a sense my coping mechanism, let's just say it. But cigarettes certainly were. And so when I decided to really let that go, and really start to look at every single ingredients, and I got so good at that, turning every single thing around and educating myself, what does this really mean? How much sugar? What is really this aspect? What is this? And now I'm also teaching my child the same thing. And sometimes we're in a store and he goes and says, no, look, this is not a good thing, remember? And he cannot pronounce it because he's still young, but he hears me saying the words that are not good and he remembers. And so this is what got me so excited. But I want you to just, if you can, just dive a little bit deeper about what is the actual main content of the product, and why is Young Living actually so much better than any other product out there? Because there's many products out there. There's many people that produce oils, diffusers and all of that stuff. I mean, there's so many, but why was it for you specifically where you're like, you know what, not only does it help me with my depression, with my not being able to sleep, with my anxiety, with me choosing better choices for my life, but what was the other part of that, like the ingredients part?
Yeah, I think we've we've swung so far because it was convenient, right? And they, if you think about it, like growing up, I mean, I'm going to be 47. Growing up, I remember like a lot of the old remedies and things that would happen. And then there was just more and more commercialization of things. And you didn't think about it really. You just were like, oh, this takes away this. This fixes that. This is great. Everything, life is
Right.
just corrected with a pill. Or a magic cleaner that has tons of chemical. Like we just didn't know any of that stuff. I mean, even now, if you just look, like I remember when they would do ads that butter was bad, eggs were bad, steak was bad. To be an athlete, you need to eat carbs. Like, and now it's the full reverse. Now,
Right.
now it's almost like everybody was going down the wrong path, and all of a sudden, with everything going on, there's a jolt, and we're helping everyone get back
Yeah,
on.
kind of like redirecting.
Yeah, we're redirecting everyone like, who we've been heading down this road way too long. And that's been a
Right.
big part of the business growing is
Right.
that so many people realize now, I mean, all the dyes in our food, and is this causing issues with our children? And there's a time and
Yeah,
place for medicine. There is a time and place for all
absolutely.
of those things, but we've gone way too far. And so I want a big thing with me is I always want to be authentic, and I want to make sure that I feel comfortable with something before I share it. I even do that with the song choices and the jokes that I pick. I want to make sure that, I mean, I have my days where I could tell some off jokes that are probably, I love a good potty humor
Right.
joke. But I also know that there's a lot of people out there that don't, or there's songs out there that have lyrics that are not appropriate. And there
Right.
are people who might be offended by that. There are people who, I mean, I've had teachers tell me that to give their kids a break, they'll put on my dance videos in school, or they'll throw jokes on just to give the kids a break from things. And so I want to make sure that what I'm putting out there, and it's something that's going to enhance someone else's life in the best way possible. Can I get a little
Yeah, but
sassy? Sure.
you know what, Brian, if I can just add to that, I also feel like that you do that also consciously aligning it to the soul that you are. Yes, I feel like you are paying a lot of attention how it's going to be for others, but fundamentally, it's really just aligning with who you are as an individual human being. You know what I mean? Which is exactly that, being, having a lot of empathy, being kind by nature, being respectful by nature, being inviting, being welcoming, being loving by nature, right? And I feel like when we are that already by nature, it's so much easier to draw energies and to draw certain things to us, whether that is a song, a joke, food, products, people. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the energy that you have internally is exactly what you're going to draw externally to you. And by you already being this authentic human being, which clearly anybody can see, that I'll jump on any channel of yours. I don't care what channel it is, really, on what platform. You can see the authenticity, you know? So I just wanted to add that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was really for me important to add that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's just at my core, I want it. Yeah, I don't talk about politics and religion. I have my views on those, but I want it. It's life is unsafe. And so I want to create a community where anyone's welcome. They don't have to agree with everything, but we
Yeah.
can all be in a room together because I can't change someone's mind if we don't won't even be in the same room together. I'm not saying I want to
Mhm.
change people's minds, but I've had a
Mhm.
lot of people who are like, wow. I didn't like gay people at all, but I followed you and I realized I have a lot of stereotypes. That's interesting. And or it's led to my son came out and I was uncomfortable and then I saw you, watched you and realized, and now he and I have a closer relationship. And I'm like, this is exactly why I do what I'm doing right now, is because it's just
Mm.
helping people. It's so easy to separate everyone, and that we see that in
Totally.
the world all the time, but we also see it with products. Like you can see very clearly right now on social media, there is a deep divide between people who are honestly trying to find wellness and
Hmm.
advocate for their wellness and want to go back to nature. And then you have the other side who's like very aggressive and very angry, and they're like, shut up about peptides, and I don't want to hear about essential oils, and that stuff's all junk. But those people don't do any educating. They don't search nothing. They will literally listen to whatever's put on the TV, in ads, and on the shelf of a store. Those are not people that are ready. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
fight with them. I'm going to let them do their thing. And if they want to hang out and watch me, that's cool. But I'm still keeping the door open because I've also had
Yeah.
people turn around and say, I just had an incident where I wasn't taking care of myself, and now I understand what you're saying. Help me. And I'm like, that's it. That's all I needed. That's all. And the reason that I went with Young Living, because my sister told me, and I was like, I'm going to research this. So I looked into their standards, and the first thing is they own farms. They also do a ton of testing, way more than anyone else. And the science and research they've been around for 31 years. So for me, I was looking at the testing, the types of testing and analysis, like, I mean, deeper dives into a lot of people don't understand science. So when they're buying products, they're just listening to whoever's telling them. And if you've got somebody who's really good at whatever they say or they talk fast, it's easy for people to go, okay. And then they don't look. And I'm always like, hold up. I can tell you all about this, but I need you to learn about it first. Because if you don't, you're not going to understand why it's helping you or why you should
Yeah.
be switching.
Yeah.
And so I needed to make sure, was this company, how is this different from over here, this other essential oil company? And I realized the huge differences there alone. And I'm like, I've seen what synthetics can do to a person, and I don't want it. Like I'm sticking with this. I'm sticking with this with my supplements because if you have synthetic supplements, your body can't absorb them. I should have known that. Sometimes your body can absorb it, but it's also taxing on your liver. But you can get
Hmm.
supplements that are natural that
Hmm.
your body can actually absorb and use, and you don't just pee out and waste your money. And it was all clicking. Like I all of a sudden my biology was coming in, my passion, me not wanting to see anyone go through what I went through. And that really that officially made Young Living and my own experience with it, not, not really. I drink a cup of coffee maybe only because I like it in the morning. Other than that, the caffeine is all gone. I don't do any of that. Lots of energy. People can see. They ask me all the time. They're like, where are you getting all that? Um, and to kind of wrap it up, what really solidified why go with Young Living versus anyone else? I have my friend who was staying with us when Clayton passed away. I reached out to her because she's also a scientist. She's a chemist, biochemist. And I was like, she loves oils and she makes her own soaps. And I was like, hey, I want to jump into this. What do you think? Take a look at their standards. And she came back to me and she was like, where do I buy it? I've never seen quality like I've never seen test results like this off of I did not know this existed. And was my
Hmm.
first ever person, and she still to this day orders. Still to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
And
blows
that
my
was really so interesting to me too. You know, this is why I kind of like decided to become, I don't even know how to call that, an ambassador or
mind.
something, you know, like I mean because it really is about all the ingredients, but it's also so true what you said that if we don't take the time really ourselves to really do our own due diligence research, and I know this takes time, and you don't have to do that necessarily for every single bracket of your life, but like the things that really matter to you most, which in my life really what I'm putting inside of my temple really does matter to me the most. So I do take the time to literally educate myself. What are the aftermath costs? That's really what I'm so always after. I get it that it's helping me now in the next hour, next whatever, but what happens in 5 years if I put this in my temple? That's what I'm really kind of curious. You know what I mean? Because also, when you would drink alcohol for, let's say, 5 years every day straight, nothing will happen to you right away. But do that after 5 years and now have your liver checked. Now it's a different story. And that's how I kind of look at life with everything, what I'm consuming. And so this was the reason for me where I was like, I want to, and obviously I heard it through you. You introduced me to it, but I mean, this is why I was like, oh, right away on board. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't even need to know more, after doing what I needed to do and listening. But yeah, I mean, I would love it if it's okay with you, for whoever is maybe interested in either ordering, to put a link underneath where people can get it, where they can, maybe educate themselves, either also like myself, become an ambassador, or, start ordering oils or anything else that Young Living really has to offer. If that's okay, I'm going to put a description in the show notes for people to educate themselves. But before I wrap up, I really also wanted to quickly touch base on your amazing book that you wrote, The Widow Dancer. And if it's okay with you, I would love to put that in the show notes too, because I think it's a wonderful project. And at this point, I do want to commend you from human to human so much, because it's really been a ride for you, in so many aspects. But I'm so proud of you,
Oh, thank you.
to really have never given up and always followed kind of like your own heart, even though when it was really difficult and you didn't know what will happen the next day. And I'm so happy you made it on the other side of the rainbow, because you look so much better here.
Thank you.
I'm getting emotional because I know that this ride was really challenging for you, and I obviously compare it with my own ride in my own life. But when we had our private conversations, there were so many synergies
Yeah.
that I know how challenging it was for you, and I'm just so happy to see you just blooming and blossoming. And obviously, for me, it's not impressive that you have 100,000 million followers. What's really impressive to me is the human being that you really are. You're just such a kind soul. You're just such a warm and kind soul, and that's really what I'm so privileged to call you even a part of my circle.
Oh, thank you. I think I think another part of it that has served me very, very well is
Mhm.
I made sure that if I was angry about what I went through, which is a normal emotion, but I didn't necessarily drive it against other people. There would be times where somebody would say something and I would get really upset, and I used it as an education time for them. But the
Mhm.
biggest thing that I noticed is when people are hurting and they're grieving, they're very fast to use it as a weapon because they don't feel safe. And that's understandable. But when you use it as a weapon, it pushes people away and it stops your healing, right? Like your heart's still going to go on whether it's whole or broken. You got to still follow it. You you have to still follow it, and it's going to drive you to places. But the one thing you can't do is try to out grief people. And I
Mhm.
saw that a lot, and I brought that up in one of my blogs because it was somebody saying, somebody was just like, "Well, I lost this, and that's worse." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "You have no idea like why are we even doing that?" And then that's where it becomes like a need to validate their emotions, but then they turn it. That's when people are using grief in a very greedy way. They want to turn
Mhm.
it into this thing versus instead of looking in and going, I'm hurt and I'm sad and how can I grow? They want everyone else to know that what they're going through is worse, and you
Yeah.
never ever know what someone's going through or the emotions. Or I mean,
Yeah.
even people who have lost their pets, I've had people go, that's not the same, and I'm like, you can't say that. that
Yeah.
that might have been someone's pet that got them through. I mean, I had my
Absolutely.
dog Roan, who has passed since. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't have left the house. I was forced to walk him,
Right.
and he saved me. He gave me my life back when I got him
Yeah.
because I went through a breakup and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I'd work and I'd go home. And then I was like, I really want a dog. And I got him. And then it made me go out and meet people at the dog park. Like he saved me. And then he did it again. So then when I lost him, it's just as bad. It's just different. So I think that's
Yeah.
really important. And I wrote, thank you for bringing up my book. It's on Amazon, The Widowed Dancer. I never thought I'd write a book. And then when I had all of my blogs, um, it got to 5 years and people were like, gosh, you should write a book. And I'm like, I kind of already have. I kind of already wrote a book, didn't I? And I decided after 5 years where I was, I'm married and my husband's very understanding. Like you don't forget someone you lost, and there isn't a competition. So if you're a
Right.
widow or you lose your person, when you move forward and it's the right time and you find someone else, you still should be able to talk about the people that you've lost. Because if you don't,
Absolutely.
that there's something not right. And if the person that you're with doesn't want you to say their name anymore, that's an issue. Because I think, and Devin, my husband, and we've had this conversation, when you don't say the name of someone gone, you're doing them a disservice. You're not honoring and that makes you feel weird because you can't honor your own grief and you're allowed to. Do I always talk about it? No, because I
Right.
understand there's got to be a balance. But when I do need to, it's not an issue because you
Right.
can't compete with the dead. Like there's no
Right.
sense in doing that.
And
And that's the same
it,
with life. Like
yeah. And it's also just shows that, obviously a relationship like that is just really rooted in trust and obviously respect enough to be like, okay, if this comes up for you, I love you enough to have you in this moment, not taking it personal or being jealous, but just understanding that that's still a wound that will most likely always be there. It will just heal and be lighter,
mhm.
but that person will never be forgotten. And it's just a different chapter of life. There's no need to, neglect that chapter of life or neglect the new chapter that is kicking in. It's all part of one's life. And without Clayton, you would have never become Sea Lion Bryan all over social media, really, in a sense,
Yeah.
right? And without your current husband, you would have not sustained your sanity and your kindness and being the soul that you really were created to be. So everybody in our lives, in my opinion, really does play such a nice pivotal role, but it's really up to us to decide, um, who do I give this role to? And when do I delete the contract? Rather that I delete it or it gets deleted from the universe, or, we're exchanging actors. It's kind of
Mhm.
like our life is our own movie, and we're really in the position of putting specific people and places and situations into our movie role, into our movie play that kind of serves us, but also serves the collective. And sometimes we pick the wrong actors and we pick the wrong background or the wrong play, you know, and that's okay too,
But
you
are they
know.
really wrong? Are they the wrong
Exactly
ones,
my
or
point.
they're unfortunately their lessons being placed along the road, which we hate, right? Oh, it's a lesson. I don't want any more lessons. We don't,
Exactly.
we have no idea what's happening after this. Some of us have very
Exactly.
firm beliefs, and that's great. Some people don't know, and that's even
Yeah.
scarier, right? Not having faith in things, but it's it you're like, oh, I really wish this
Mhm.
person never came into my life, like because and then you're like, darn it, there's
Yeah.
the lesson. Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I learned? And you know what I learned in those kind of things to really start mastering is to still go back to those type of people or to those type of emotional feelings, coupled to those people, is to go back and find one thing, just one thing that I absolutely respect about that person. Just one thing. And because there's always something, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, every human being is an individual creation, and we all are beautiful in our own ways. Just like we suck in our own ways too, you know? And so I think for me, that really helped me when I went through specific people in my life where I'm like, man, when I see that person, it's kind of like, like the torero, the red, it's a red thing like that for me. And so, but when I found one thing that I really respected about that person, it didn't take the red thing away, but it didn't make it as red anymore. It kind of blended into a nice, light tomato red.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, but yeah, your book. I will also put it in the show notes if that's okay, because I think it's a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful gift also as a present to just give away. I mean, who doesn't like a good book, right? It's a cool present to receive. But it's also a great tool to heal, you know, and so many cool things you touched on. You dropped so many gems, so many golden nuggets from like grief share of like, you know, tools that you use, like thought forms. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you've been my guest today. Your open heart, your kindness, you know, your authenticity, your realness, your rawness. Like, thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for being here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate what you do and putting this out there. And, this gives, you just never know. You never know. And all it
Exactly.
takes is one person to turn around and say, what you did today changed the trajectory of my day for the better. And that's, I think the biggest thing as we wrap up, the biggest thing for me is I struggle with the why. I always have. When I was a kid and I got picked on, why? Why am I the short one? Why am I heavy set? Why do I have to be the gay one? Why do I get picked on and thrown into lockers all the time? Like I would always ask the whys. Why can't I get this job? Why does this have to be so hard? Why does this person treat me like crap at work? Why? Why? Why are these people
Mm,
dying? I need that, but I know I'm not gonna get, no one's coming down and sitting me down and going, Brian, this is the plan and this is why. And that drives me nuts, but I can never change it. So if I can keep letting it drive me nuts, or I can just either believe, pretend, whatever the audience wants, that these moments throughout the day are reminders of why to keep going. Like, why did I get up this morning before my alarm and felt great? And like, my husband's sleeping, a friend's visiting, and I hear her dog run down the stairs, and we took care of her dog for a long time. And I was like, oh, here we go. I was like, but that dog's really sweet. Like, okay, like I should get up today. I should go say hi
yeah,
and hang out with her.
yeah,
There's a why there.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's really, really important that you can find those moments of abundance in your day and make that your
Mm,
why, whether or not it's
mm,
gonna be the real reason.
mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know when we're gonna know, but it
yeah,
just takes that edge off and it makes it a little easier.
yeah. Wow, wonderful. Simple mind changes, huh? Simple mindset. Well, if it just would be so simple.
Right. It takes practice. It takes a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
does.
practice.
It really does. Wow. Well, thank you again so much, Brian. I'm, you know, so happy the universe, you know, made this happen for us to meet in this lifetime. And podcast lovers, another great one. And as always, if you have anything to share, if there's a story that you really want to share with me, my mic is always open. But until then, stay rooted, stay grounded, and always stay connected to love, the strongest force in the universe.